Welcome to Make a Path Presents. I'm Ronny Hayes, and today, let's talk. Ronny recommends watching, what is it? Westworld. Holy shit, I almost forgot. We're going to talk very briefly about spoiler-free stuff, just to try to convince you to watch it. Now, it's something new I'm doing on this channel where it's kind of like it's part of my Let's Talk series, but I don't do a whole lot of Let's Talk, so I'm doing like Ronny recommends watching or reading or whatever, and that's incorporated into the Let's Talk series. So you can find everything under the Let's Talk playlist, but I just want to put this out there and tell those who haven't checked it out yet, so we're going to do a spoiler-free, and then after a couple minutes, I do want to mention one thing that has to do with spoilers, but it was probably the most exciting I've ever gotten over the phrase, just to be spoiler-free, she wouldn't hurt a fly, or he wouldn't hurt a fly. They did something so incredible with that. Yeah, that, with a fly in Westworld that I thought just gave me goosebumps. I loved it. But anyway, the spoiler-free breakdown. Westworld is a world of the Wild West. Look at it as somebody set up the most realistic amusement park just for adults, where you can go into it seemingly from the first episode. It looks like it's a real place, and they build these synthetic beings, robots, whatever you want to call them, and they look and act, just everything about them seems so real, you know, like real life people. They put them in this world, they program them to have the same repetitious day-to-day life. Like every day they wake up and do this one thing, and so that way when you go and visit it, and it looks like you travel in on a train, and I think that might be a misdirect, but that's kind of how the first episode sets it up, where you go in on a train, and on the train there's these synthetic beings as well. And then another part of me that thinks that's misdirect is because that could just be one element that we've seen, and here it's where they program the people to go into this world. Again, we haven't seen how people specifically, I mean, there's enough to guess. Yeah, they go into this world by train, but there's a lot of people, so there could be different entrances. We just don't know. We don't know the scope of it because they leave it kind of ambiguous. But anyway, so you go into a world that's already active, already alive. Every character has a narrative. The fake people, we're just going to call them fake people and real people to keep it easy. The fake people, they wake up every day, they do a narrative. And if a real people, a visitor, if they don't bother that narrative, if they don't bother their world, then they're going to go on about their day, how they're programmed. But once the real people, the visitors, they come over, if they interact with anybody, their world will change. Like if they're a prostitute, if they're just in town shopping, if they're the doctor, if they're building, their lives go on, their story goes on. But the visitors come and they change their story if they choose to interact with them. And then you also, which is really awesome, they have these special narratives that happen where it's like storytelling, where they'll bring in a bank robber that's hiding in the hills. And it doesn't happen every time, it seems, but it seems like they set it up to where once in a while he'll come and there will be a massacre and you can watch it. You could be active in it, or you could just hide and watch and yada yada yada. And they have safety precautions where the fake people can't kill real people that come and that are visiting there. So they have everything installed, and that's the idea, the spoiler-free idea of how this world is set up. Now, the first episode, it holds back on some of the magic, and you can see it there. You can see the potential, but you can tell what they're doing is they're holding your hand, and they're, as interestingly as possible, they're showing you this world and still keeping some secrets, but they're showing you this world, and it feels like they're holding back on something, like a main character. It feels like that because you get introduced to all these little networks and you see it all, but there's something missing, like a visitor or two, and it looks like in the previews we're going to get that. So in the first episode, you never really attach to somebody, and I think this is one of the flaws, one of the most difficult obstacles to overcome, is to make us care about the fake humans. Because no matter how real they are, if they don't introduce any idea that, any remixed idea that they have some sort of, consciousness, it's going to be very hard to attach to them. I don't know, it makes it very difficult to become emotionally attached to the fake visitors. You get what I'm saying? If they are just that robot. But this is where we're going to spill over into spoiler-free territory. Spill over into spoiler territory to talk about something. But to end the spoiler-free stuff, I just want to say, I go on HBO through HBO Now. It's on my phone. I set it up in 2 minutes. I paid them $16. As a matter of fact, I think the first month is free if you catch them on a promotional thing. So I got it for Game of Thrones, and I haven't looked back since, because once that was over, I went and watched a couple movies. I went and watched something else. Man, I'm forgetting what it was. Oh, The Night Of. I recommend that highly, too. I like that. And then I started seeing previews for this Westworld, and I was instantly hooked because Game of Thrones is delayed, so I didn't know what to do with HBO other than watching some movies. But with Westworld, I know for a fact I'm keeping HBO around just for that. So like I said, HBO Now, you can get it on your phone, your laptop. Once you hook it up through the phone, through the app, you can get it on your computer. It is fast. It's so easy. 2 minutes, you sign up, you pay, you're done. That's what I use, and I'm not paid to say that. From one fan to another, that's how I use what I use, and it's so freaking easy. Now, to go into spoiler territory, if you don't want to hear the cliffhanger, the ending of episode 1, which it's nothing major, but for those who have seen Westworld, I want to talk about this briefly. Last chance, if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back, because I'm dying to hear what you have to say about the ending. For those who have watched it, how epic was that they used a fly to tell so much. Holy shit, I love that. Because they're always telling you, throughout the whole episode, you hear it 3 or 4 times. Oh, that person, he wouldn't hurt a fly. The guy who the fly lands on his face and it tweaks him out, it kind of messes up with his programming, and he strokes out for a fake person, And then you hear it repeated a couple other times. Oh, I wouldn't hurt a fly, he wouldn't hurt a fly, she wouldn't hurt a fly. And they're talking about that Rachel Evan Woods character. I don't even know if that's her real name or I'm mixing words around, but I'm close. I think it's Rachel Woods, something like that. Her character, I believe they said, or she said, she wouldn't hurt a fly. And it's set up perfect, because then at the ending she comes out and they replaced her dad, and the new dad is like, oh, hey honey, you going out to the woods to paint today? And she's like, oh, whoop-de-whoop. And then she leans on the pole and the fly comes, and I think the way they did it was just absolute perfection. They didn't over dramatize it. They didn't do any slow motion. They didn't do anything. There was no hesitation. She's just like this gorgeous smile on her face. Everything's just heavenly, and she's so peaceful and so sweet and kind throughout the whole episode, and she's just looking out into the view, and the fly just, as soon as it buzzes on her neck, it's like holy fuck. I love that, because the whole idea, she wouldn't even hurt a fly. Like, the idea here is, she wouldn't hurt a human, she wouldn't even hurt a fly. And then without hesitation, I mean, they didn't even amp that scene up. It was so quick, it was so instant. It was like, oh, there's a fly, smack, because other characters wouldn't react. The one character even malfunctioned a little when the fly touched his face. And I'm not sure if it was just the fly or something else, but that was the moment where I was like, oh, there's some deep shit happening here, because she's the oldest person. She has the most characteristics. She's the one who you're thinking, oh no, she's on point. She was truthful. She was yada, yada, yada. But you can tell maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe she's just so clever, and she's so aware and self-aware that she knew not only to be honest, but to be honest in a way where it made it seem like she was a robot, like the blank stare, answering the questions as honestly, and I don't know, just loved it. I can't wait to see what's coming up next. You have that, and then the Man in Black, and I still don't know yet. Like, I'm not confident how they come in and out of this park. Like, is it just a train, or is there multiple entrances? I'm not even confident that this isn't something like a Matrix system where you get beamed in somehow. You know what I mean? You get tapped into it. I don't know. For me, it looked like they actually physically made them, and they have this reservation that they sectioned off like a park, like a real-life Jurassic Park. So maybe these people, these fake people, which I think this is mind-blowing, can be taken out of the Westworld and brought to our world. I mean, shit like that is mind-blowing. It's ideas like that where I start thinking, shit, this could actually be like the next Game of Thrones. I've never heard anyone on HBO say that, but I hear a lot of fans putting the pressure on them to make this the new Game of Thrones. You'll never have a new Game of Thrones. Let's make that very clear. Listen, I am a huge Walking Dead fan, and I know for a fact You can create another show, a comic, a book, another video game. You could create something that has a fan base as big and rabid as The Walking Dead. You can do that without robbing any ideas from them, without copying them. You could do something totally different. Last of Us is as different as it comes, and if you took advantage of that property, you could create something as big as The Walking Dead, guaranteed. I bet my life on it. Now with Game of Thrones, you can do something similar, as big and as respected as Game of Thrones, but it's not going to be the same. They might not have fans that are into figures and collectibles or this and this, because I know Game of Thrones have stuff like that. You might not tap into the same fan base as that, but you might tap into something similar, as big or whatever. So when I hear fans talking about this is their new Game of Thrones, I understand, like, okay, maybe this is their new big flagship, big show, but not every aspect of the fan base and of the product and, the whole scene as a whole, everything that revolves around it, it's not all going to be the same. That's impossible unless you create a Game of Thrones spin-off that is wildly successful, which, again, might not be the case because spin-offs are difficult because people tend to make them less passionately. I don't know. But anyway, going back to Westworld, I love the whole idea. I'm not still confident. I think I have ideas about where the story's going, but the man in black, he found a puzzle, it looked like, or a map under the guy's skull. I love that. Now, here's the thing. Do they gotta hunt down that guy's body? Are there trackers? Is the man in black a robot, or is he a real person that visits? I know someone said he was a robot or a visitor because the other guy couldn't shoot him, but what if he was a robot and he was able to somehow override some system to where other people in the game couldn't shoot him? Like when they shot him, it missed, because then finally he put the gun to his head and he couldn't pull the trigger. So maybe he is a real person. I don't know. They leave it up in the air. They leave it ambiguous, and I love that shit. I don't want to know everything in the first episode, but I do know in the previews we see a map. The girl looks like she's sleeping in a map circle on the ground. I don't know. There's some interesting stuff, or maybe it was a girl or guy. Not sure, but I'm so hyped for them, for the Indians that are coming in. The Indians, I love all that. I can't wait. I love it. Fuck yeah. So put your thoughts and opinions. What do you think about Westworld? If you've seen it, down in that comment box. And if you haven't seen it, hopefully you're not watching the ending here. But if you haven't, hopefully you went. Tell me, if you didn't see it and then you went and watched it and came back, let me know. Was it a good recommend, or are you like, now I'm not really feeling it? Be honest, be truthful, put your thoughts. Wait a minute, that's the same thing. Just give me your thoughts and opinions down in the comment box. I'm done talking, it's your turn. Subscribe now.